الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته, Sister Fakira and everyone else. Now, Tariq, so what was your question again that we missed from the fiqh class?
Naam, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Naam, hayakallah. The question was with regards to water. So when it pertains to water storage and when water is stored in large amounts, let's say 50 to 100 gallons over a period of time, and this causes the water to change its smell possibly, or even if it doesn't, is there a limitation with regards to the amount of time that the water can be stored before it's considered as stagnant?
Well, this, like I was mentioning to our elder, our brother Iqbal, when he mentioned about, I think he was referring to the hadith that's in the Sunan and Arba', is in the four Sunan. And the hadith where the Prophet said, إذا كان الماء قلتين لا ينجسه شيء or لا ينجسه شيء. If the, and this is a measurement, if water reaches the level of two قلتين, then nothing can make it impure, right? So now, inshallah, we'll get to that. That's actually a hadith that is studied in, not in Umdat al-Ahkam, but we may pass across the rulings of it, but we'll go into it in detail if we get to, I'm sorry, not Umdat, and Bulugh al-Maram. It's not in Umdat al-Ahkam, you study that in Bulugh al-Maram, but we may pass across it. We'll take some benefits of it, or this idea now, but more in detail if we get to study that book of fiqh. Now, so the detail when it comes to the water changing is not simply on the change. So there's two types of change that affects the water. And there's one type of change that doesn't affect the water. So now the change that affects the water, the first type that makes it not proper to use, to ingest it, nor to use on your body, is if something enters into it that is najas. And it's the color or the taste or the smell changes due to something filthy being put into it. So there's no ikhtilaf that this water cannot be used. Not for ingestion and not for purification, right? So this is najas. Waters become najas. Then you have the water that changes due to something pure being put into it, like flour, soap, oil, and other than that. So now, the scholars discuss this type of water. What if something pure is put in? What if flour? You know, you have some gold medal flour and it falls into a bucket of water. Can you still make wudu with that water? As long as it still bears the name water, meaning that you can honestly still call it water after this pure thing has entered into it, even if the taste has changed, even the smell has changed. But you say, that's water. It's soapy water. And like that, it didn't become soap. It became soapy water. Water, you still call it water. Oh, it's flour in that water. You still call it water. Then it still can be used for purification, even if the smell changed due to the flour or the soap being in there like that. For instance, sometimes you have rose water, right? And it has the smell of rose in it. You still can make wudu with it. It has not become to the point that it cannot be used because it's called rose water. So that which has been added to it is not enough to remove the ability to use it for purification. Now, if something pure enters into it to the point that you can't call it water anymore, like you add Tang or Kool-Aid or anything else to the point you call it juice. So now the fact that you can't say water, you don't say red water, blue water, yellow water, you say juice, right? So now this cannot be used for pure. It can be ingested because it's pure, but it cannot be used for purification. Likewise, a tea bag. Tea bag is placed into it or more. So now it's water at first. You're not going to call it brown water. You're going to call it tea. You put coffee into it. You're not going to call it black water. You're going to call it coffee. So once the properties of the water change to the point that you no longer can call it water, it no longer can be used for purification. As long as the prophet, and this ruling is not restricted to wudu. It also applies to other things like that. Even a lot of things that people stopped eating because they thought it had pork in it, and it had pork, and they put yellow number 5 and green 47, and Muslims run around with books with all of the numbers of the colors in it and things in it, and saying, "Oh, we can't eat that, we can't eat that, we can't eat that." A lot of Muslims were robbed out of eating Starburst and Skittles for years, believing it to be haram, right? So is it haram? Allahu a'lam. However, if something was done to the thing that was put in it, to the point that thing that was used, that the asl of that thing is haram, right? That that the properties of that thing changed until it became something else. Now, I don't mean it's being named something else, but it still is what it is, right? I'm saying that it changed so much that you can call it what it was because its properties have changed. That thing then becomes halal, and the use of it becomes halal. Even if the process was haram, the sin is on the person who did the process. And I'll give an example. Alcohol is haram. Alcohol is haram. For instance, red wine, white wine, it's haram to touch it, to carry it, to make it, to everything connected to wine, hadith of Sahih Muslim, is haram. That wine sits after it has fermented, and it sits and it changes and changes until it becomes vinegar. When it reaches the stage of vinegar, it's halal. Red wine vinegar, it's halal, it's not alcohol. White wine vinegar, halal is not alcohol. When it was alcohol, it was haram. Grapes are halal. They ferment, they go through that process, they become wine, grapes become halal. Those grapes that in that bottle, nobody can say, and this is the refutation that we refuted this before, for those who say marijuana is natural. And no. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's halal. Everything natural is not halal. Pigs are natural. They're still halal. Allah created pigs. They're still halal. So the natural argument doesn't move anything. So here it is. The grapes are halal. They turn into wine, they become haram. They turn into vinegar, they become halal again. No.
Stagnant water, you were saying.
So back to his point, stagnant water. So let's say the water changed due to sitting, but there's nothing najis in it. So it's pure. The smell of the water, because it sat, does not make it impure. Only thing that can make water impure is najis. Najis. Any water, no matter how bad it smells, as long as it's not najis or poisonous, can hurt you. If not najis or poison, we're saying this from Flint, Michigan. So
the small ponds are okay, right?
As long as it's not najis or poisonous that it can harm you, then you can make wudu with it. No.
Small ponds we can make wudu. Small ponds, the stuff.
Yeah, the small ponds, that's pure water. Yeah. And birak, even puddles and all of that stuff. You can and some, like we spoke about in that class, that some bodies of water have a bad odor. The ocean doesn't smell good. The ocean does not smell good. I don't know. People go to the beach. I don't like the smell of the beach. I don't like how that smells, but it's pure. That smell is not due to najis, right? So the barbit, the precision is that smell changes due to najis, like that. Nah. So that's the situation with that. So upon
What about the pond? Does it?
But the hadith that led us to this, it wasn't that the Prophet said, he didn't say don't use stagnant water. The issue is not stagnant water. He said do not pass urine or feces in stagnant water and then washing it. So the issue isn't stagnant water. The issue is the person putting najis in it and then using it. Or the issue is the person getting in it while he's in a state of major ritual impurity and then washing in it. So the stagnant water is not a problem. The issue is what did the person do in it, and like that. We have people that do that, but swimming pools are big, but that urinate in swimming pools.
Yeah.
Right, and that as long as the pool is sitting there until they drain it, it's stagnant. It's considered stagnant water. So that person wouldn't urinate in the swimming pool and then make wudu in it like that. But we'll talk about that when we get to hadith. If the water is qullatayn, la yunajjasu shay. No.
Can I ask one more question that ties into that?
No.
No, so several brothers and I was having a conversation with regards to removing the najis of clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometime the children, they defecate or urinate,
Mm-hmm.
in the clothes.
No.
So you would still have this in the clothes, but then you'll put it in the washing machine.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of water in the washing machine does not equal qullatayn. It's typically less than that.
Mm-hmm.
So the najis from the clothes, it lifts from the clothes, but the clothes is still being washed in this water that becomes najis.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the process of the washing machine, when the water drains, it still drains through the clothes. So that najas, the najas was never really truly removed because it still goes back into the clothes. Would it be better to just remove it completely by hand with flowing water, or would that process suffice to remove the najasa? Barakallahu fi.
Rafiqum barakallah. Now, izalat al-najasa is to remove it. Izalat al-najasa is to remove it. So najasa is two types. You have that which is in solid form, and that which is what? And what do you call it? Liquid form. So that which is in liquid form is fine. It's going to be washed through and washed out and drained and like that. And maybe the first time that the washing machine is filled, it doesn't equal qullatayn. But then what about when it drains and refills? So then, because it doesn't, it's not that same water. It drains, it goes on rinse cycle, then it fills back up, and then it goes, and then it goes through spin cycle like that. So now, depending on what wash did the person put it on, got levels of washing, quick wash or with blankets, and you have all of those things. So how many, it depends on what kind of load that the person washed it in, like that. So now, if the najis that is solid form is physically removed from the garment, then that is izalat al-najasa, that is removing najasa. As long as it's physically gone, even if the person didn't remove what? Didn't use water. And the evidence for that is the hadith that's in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ concerning as-salah, and you're going to find this in Bab التنعل في الصلاة أو جواز الصلاة في النعال. You're going to see this in the chapter of praying in shoes, or the permissibility of praying with your shoes on. That the Prophet ﷺ entered into the masjid and he was leading the Sahaba in Salah, and then he removed his shoes. And so the Sahaba removed their shoes. So then after the Prophet salamed out, he asked them, why did you remove your shoes? They said, we removed our shoes because you removed your shoes. He said, I removed my shoes because Jibreel alayhi salam came to me and told me there was najis on my shoes. He said, as for you, if you come to the masjid, he said, look and check the bottom of your shoes for najasa. And if you find najasa, wipe it off and pray with them on. Wipe it off and pray with them on, right? Another evidence to that is the issue of walking through najasa. The Prophet ﷺ said what? If a person walks through najasa, that the earth that comes after it purifies it, right? So now, as long as there's no physical evidence of the najasa, is considered now izalat najasa. You have removed the najasa.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Hanif. Now. Now, so that was considered what? Izalat najasa. That you remove it physically from the garment, you remove it physically from, whatever place it is, the place where the person is going to pray and things like that. So long as the signs of the najasa, if it is a solid, is physically gone, then you have removed the najasa. You have removed the najasa.
Is that like, if that's what it says, better to sit down and urinate. So, because if you stand,
Splash on you. Yeah, it can splash on. Nah. Yeah. Better to sit down. It's better to sit down. No. Okay, so we'll begin. So if we reach the page 12, once again, and we see the disaster that's going on with the Muslims worldwide. So we reach page 12. Well, Allah Ta'ala says, أَوَلَا يَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا يُسِرُّونَ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ. Now, do they not know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what they conceal and what they reveal? This is after they said what? Do not, when they meet the believers, they say to believe. And then when they're with themselves, they said, don't tell them that, we know that Allah ta'ala revealed in the Torah about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and about that the Quran is being revealed and like that. Don't say that because they're going to use that as an argument against us, right? And they said, do you not have any sense? Why would you let them know that, we know and that we're just hiding it? So Allah ta'ala said, do they not know that Allah knows what they reveal and what they conceal? هؤلاء اليهود يسلكون هذا المسلك المشين وكأنهم يغفلون عن أن الله يعلم ما يخفون من أقوالهم وأفعالهم وما يعلنون منها ويظهرها لعباده ويفضحه. Is that these Jews, they take this path, this evil path, despicable path, as if they are heedless of the fact that Allah knows what they hide from their statements and actions and that which they make public or make known. And Allah Ta'ala will expose it to his slaves and humiliate them. وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ الْكِتَابَ إِلَّا أَمَانِيَّ وَإِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يَظُنُّونَ. Allah Ta'ala said, and from them are illiterates who do not know the book. Afwan. Now, except guessing, conjecture. And all they do is basically yadhunnun, show their opinions. It is that, it means thinking, but here it means like, they're just opinionated. They're saying their opinions or they're saying their desires when it comes to the Torah. And this is very severe because this shows that this is two ways from the behavior of Yahud. The ones of knowledge hide the knowledge. Take rules that apply to everyone and they only apply to the poor, and they leave the rich. No, this doesn't apply to the rich, and things like that. Like the ayat of zina, that they hid that, the verse of zina in the Torah, they tried to hide that because somebody from one of their nobles fell into it, and he was married. He was supposed to be stoned according to the Torah, and they came to the Prophet to find out if we had a different ruling in Islam so that he would get out of being stoned. Now, so this is one. To have knowledge and hide it. This is one of the behaviors of the Jews. Also, to speak with opinion concerning the Torah, as they did the same thing when the Muslims do this with the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man qala fil Quran bi ra'yihi wa asaba fahuwa mukhti." Whoever spoke about the Quran with his own opinion, even if he gets it right, he's wrong. Even if he gets it right, he's wrong. Now, and it's not like an individual who's like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do with the Sahaba. What does this mean? What is that? Testing that knowledge and information. So the person, based on the information that has reached them, says such and such. It means the person who posts himself up as a teacher, as a scholar, as an imam, and has not learned. And begins to speak off what? Just reading through books. He's a sahafi. He's a journalist. He's a journalist. And then what do the journalists do? You think journalists know all of that information, everything that happened? They speak about wildlife, global warming, politics, rape, murder. Like journalists, they speak about everything, whatever's going to make the front page. What do? They hear the information about it, and then they do a quick crash course in the subject, and then they speak on it as if they are from the people of knowledge of that subject. You have people doing that with the deen. No studying, no serious dedication to actually learning the deen, no traveling to study at the feet of the scholars. None of this going on. But what do? When they need to speak on the subject, they want to need to give a khutbah. They need to do anything. They can do a crash course very quickly, and then they come out. And then if they get accepted and kudos for what they did, then they take it on as a habit. Now he's the Imam al-Muqtada. He's the Imam to be followed. This is the danger. This is from the ways of the Yahud. As we see in this ayah, and the ulama say about this ayah. Because the Jews, they were different groups. This is where you're going to find minhum. You're going to find minhum ba'dhum in the Quran when Allah speaks about the Jews. From them are those who do this. Some of them. And then sometimes Allah leaves it general. And this shows that the incorrect idea when people say, no, you shouldn't generalize. No, you should generalize. You can't specify except what they did, but you can generalize. Well, also, inna al-insana lafi khusr. Allah Ta'ala said, by time, mankind is lost. Mankind. Allah Ta'ala said, if you follow most of the people on the earth, they will lead you away from the path of Allah. Most. Allah said, most of them don't know. Most of them don't believe. So no, you're supposed to generalize. You shouldn't generalize. No, you should generalize. And it shows that we have to understand the methodology of thinking that comes from the Quran. If not, we're going to be like a leaf in the wind, and we're going to be influenced by all of these new phrases and new statements that makes you acceptable to society and makes you balanced according to society. Give me your unbiased opinion. I'm biased. I'm Muslim. How can I have an unbiased opinion and I'm Muslim? How can I have an unbiased opinion and I'm a Muslim? About kufr, about shirk, about bid'ah, about zina, about teenagers getting married. I don't have an unbiased opinion. No, I believe you should get married. How can I have an unbiased opinion about these things that our religion calls to, or the things that our religion warns us away from? How can you, as a Muslim, be tricked into be giving a so-called unbiased opinion? I mean, I don't know. Like, you have a lot of YouTube imams doing that now. When they asked about LGBT homosexuality, I mean, that's their personal choice. We're talking about that's their personal choice. No, he's a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He cannot do with his body what Allah ta'ala has prohibited. It's not his choice. He does not have a right to do that. It's not his choice. It's haram. And he deserves to be punished. But the problem is that these Christians in this country, they stop implementing what's in the Bible because he's supposed to be punished even according to the Bible. The Jews, they're supposed to be punished even according to the Torah. Even according to the Injil and the Torah. And of course in the Quran. These individuals are supposed to be punished. And they're supposed to be prevented. And they're not supposed to be allowed to come out publicly to do anything. We don't believe, like I said before, we don't believe in freedom of speech. We believe in freedom to speak the truth. We believe in freedom to enjoin good and freedom to forbid evil. We don't believe in freedom to say anything that comes to your mind and anything you feel. We don't believe in the freedom to do that. The Prophet said in Hadith al-Tirmidhi, "Inna ibn Adam la yalfidu bi kalimatin la yulqa laha balan yahwi biha fi nari jahannam 70 kharifa." He said, indeed, the child of Adam, the son of Adam, he will say a statement, not giving it any consideration. Because of this statement, he will be cast into the hellfire 70 years. Because he was what? Freedom of speech. Prophet said, Allah yakubbu nas ala manakhirihim aw ala wujuhim fi an-nar illa hasa'id al-sinatihim. He said, it's not the thing that causes the hadith al-mu'ad, that causes the people to fall on their face into the hellfire, or fall on their nose tips into the hellfire, except for the harvest of their tongue. So where's freedom of speech with that? No, we don't believe in freedom of speech. We believe in freedom to speak good or remain silent. Man kana, hadith Abi Hurairah. What? Man kana yu'minu billahi wa yawm al-akhir falyakul khayr wa la yasmut. Whoever believes in Allah on the last day, let him say good or be quiet. That's what the Prophet told us, freedom of speech. Say good or be quiet. Or be quiet. Nah. And the worst evil that can be said is statements of kufr and shirk. And the word silence. Silence is sometimes a sin. The word silence is silence about kufr and shirk. The word speech is kufr and shirk. And the word silence is to be silent about kufr and shirk. The next after kufr and shirk, the word speech is bid'ah. And the word silence next in line is silence about bid'ah. Next in line, the word speech is calling to al-ma'asi, the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in corruption. And the next in line, the word silence can be silent about disobedience to Allah and corruption. The scholars say what? Things are made clear through their opposites. Things are made clear through their opposites. Now, ومن اليهود طائفة لا يعلمون التوراة إلا تلاوة سبحان الله ما أشبه الليلة بالبارحة. How much today resembles yesterday. Look at the ulama saying here. ومن اليهود طائفة. So sorry to say we have that. طائفة لا يعلمون التوراة إلا تلاوة ولا يفهمون ما دلت عليه لا إله إلا الله. And from the Jews are a group who do not know the Torah except how to recite it. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Reciters. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? It's a very scary hadith. And don't let shaitan play with you that think this hadith means don't memorize the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَكْثَرُ مُنَافِقِي أُمَّتِي قُرَّاؤُهَا. The most of the hypocrites in my ummah are the reciters. لا إله إلا الله. أكثر منافقي أمتي قراؤها. And it's very rare, and I mean, we came to it, it's here in the Quran, and we have to deal with it. It's very rare to find a reciter, especially those who are very famous. And if you go to the books of Tafseer will go to me. Tafseer even get me, and when it gets to these issues right here, it talks about those who read for funerals and read, and we're destroying the youth, putting them into these Quran competitions. We're destroying them. Rewards and the competition. Look how long the Salaf, they had their children, they raised their children. Look at the results of their children without one Quran competition. On Father Quran without one competition. Without one competition. Anyway, so I mean, name a competition you can get in. And everybody knows themselves. I guess I'm only speaking for myself here. But for your own good, name a competition you can join where you're going to compete in front of people and not intend to show off. How are you going to win? Because the people have to judge that you're the best. So you have to impress them. So now how can you have ikhlas in a situation like that? It's a competition. La ilaha illallah.
So the Quran competitions are not recommended, or
I not recommend. I'm not saying haram,
all the countries that
halal, but I would say stay away from. Stay away from. Keep your kids out of it. If you want them to recite the Quran for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to get closer to Allah, if Jannah is not enough to get them to recite the Quran, it's nothing after that. It's nothing after that. It's nothing after that. And we've tried every other way besides the teaching them the meaning and being living examples and proper implementation to encourage them to follow the deen. And all of those tricks of the trade, they haven't worked. They haven't worked. We don't see now the result of these years and years. I was asked to speak and be a judge in the 21st annual Quran competition in Tanzania. Right? That's the 21st one.
Oh.
And alhamdulillah, Tanzania is much better than America. Muslims everywhere in Masajid. But now when you look at how many reciters participated, and the stadium held 15, the third one I went to, the stadium held 15,000 people filled up with nothing but Muslims to listen to the Quran and like that. But then when you look at the society and you see all of those huffaz, all of those, that not the whole 15,000, but in the competition, and I came from another one the other day. And 1 year was 3 back to back. I spoke at this one, spoke at that one, one there, and it was filled every time. It was filled up with Muslims and like that. So now, but you see the absence of that effect on the society. All those huffaz, 21 years of these competitions. Okay, now when you go on the market, where are the ayat saying don't cheat, don't this, don't that? Where are those ayat? When you're riding a taxi cab, where are those verses? When when it comes to the way the women are judged, and the men and women, where are those? All of those competitions. How does it apply? How does it affect the society? How does it affect the society? So you want to see, okay, now if we're doing this, now the result of it is supposed to be a change in us. And this is for an individual or as a group. When we're trying something, it has to be effective. If it's not effective, just like you're taking the medicine that was prescribed, that's not in Quran and Sunnah, but it's halal. So you're taking the medicine. If you see it's not having an effect, well, you're going to keep doing it. There we go. So now we have to see, okay, beautiful. They're competing, so they're memorizing like that. So now what the societies that they come from, what is their impact on those societies? It happened in Misr. My wife, my daughters are coming from Esh-Shatibiyya. It's a Quran school in Egypt. Esh-Shatibiyya. And a girl was on a bus coming from the same school. And she got on the bus. And another girl got on. She was from the same Quran school. Anyway, one got up, I don't know, to pay her fare to do something, but she had left her bag. The other one sat where she was. So she said, oh yeah, this is, I was sitting here, could you, move like that? She said, no, I'm going to sit here. Anyway, long story short, the girl who was lesser than her in level of Quran, they all come from the same school, cursed her out, fussed at her. And she felt entitled. She was wrong. She sat in the girl's chair. The girl said, no, this is where I was sitting. She felt entitled because she was a hafiz of Quran. She started yelling and crying. What are you talking about? What does that have to do with you? The girl was sitting there. You sat in her seat. She told you I was sitting there. That bag was mine that you moved over. You must say, what are you talking about? So now, what kind of attitude is that? And then it's the people of Bid'ah are making war against us through my memorizing the Quran also. This is another problem. We used to be able to say about many of the groups of Bid'ah that they're ignorant. They don't know anything like that. So many of them are becoming very proficient reciters of Quran. This is something my wife is very upset about. She said, you see them, they're coming in, they have skirts on, the long skirts, this is in Egypt anyway, that hug them. And they have what's it called, a tunic, the type of feminine shirt that also hugs them. And they got 3, 5 qira'at. You know how to recite the Quran, 3, 5 different modes of recitation. That means they know how to recite the verses about hijab in 3 to 5 different ways, but they still don't wear proper hijab. What's going on? The Prophet said what? Well, Quran hujjatun lak aw alayk, and the Quran is going to be a proof for you or against you. Right? So this is very important. Also, the hadith, some scholars attribute this hadith that is talking about the Khawarij. But if you look at the different narrations of it, you see that the hadith is more general than that. The Prophet ﷺ entered into the masjid hadith al-Tabarani. And the Sahaba said that وَكَانَ فِينَا الْأَسْوَدُ وَالْأَبْيَضُ وَالْأَصْفَرُ وَالْأَحْمَرُ نقرأ القرآن فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اقرأوا القرآن فإن كله خير. He said, the Prophet entered into the masjid and we were sitting reading the Quran. And from us, those who were black and yellow and red and white. And the Prophet ﷺ said, read the Quran because indeed all of it is good. وَإِنَّهُ سَيَأْتِي بَعْضُكُمْ أَقْوَامٌ لا يتركون ألفا ولا واوا إلا يلفونها كما تلف البقرة الكلاء لا يتجاوز حناجرهم. He said, read the Quran for indeed all of it is good. For indeed there's going to come after you a people who will recite the Quran and they will not leave an alif or a waw except they will twist their tongues in perfecting its pronunciation, and it will not descend past their throats. It will not descend past their throats. Nah. And another one he said, لا يتركون ألفا ولا واوا إلا يقيمها إقامة السهم. He said they will not leave an alif or a waw except they will establish its pronunciation perfectly, like a person who straightens out the arrow in his bow. That it has to be perfect before you let it go. That's how perfect their recitation will be. And also from the descriptions of the Khawarij is their perfection in recitation of the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ said when Dhul Khuwaysirah grabbed the Prophet by his neck and said, "You haven't been just," and Umar asked to strike his neck, the Prophet ﷺ said, "No, perhaps he prayed." And then the Prophet ﷺ said, "Innahu sayakhruj bin dhi'i hadha ar-rajul." Indeed, there's going to come from the offspring of this man, qawmun, a group of people. تحقرون صلاتكم عند صلاتهم وصيامكم عند صيامهم وقراءتكم عند قراءتهم. He says you're going to look down on your prayer compared to how much they pray, and your fast compared to how much they fast, and your recitation compared to their recitation. يخرجون من الدين كما يخرج السهم من الرمية. They will leave out of the religion like an arrow that leaves out of the bow. Nah. So we have this in our ummah, like in the ummah of the Jews. لا يفهمون ما دلت عليه. They do not understand what the verse indicates to. They don't understand that part. وليس معهم إلا أكاذيب أخذوها من كبرائهم يظنون أنها التوراة التي أنزلها الله. He said, and they don't understand what it points to or what it's evidence for, and they don't have anything but lies, fabrications that they have taken from their elders in those lies and fabrications, and they think that it's from the Torah that Allah sent down, and it is not. فويل للذين يكتبون الكتاب بأيديهم ثم يقولون هذا من عند الله ليشتروا به ثمنا قليلا فويل لهم مما كتبت أيديهم وويل لهم مما يكسبون. And we'll stop at this ayah. Allah Ta'ala said, so cursed are those who write the book with their own hands and then say it is from Allah. This is from Allah, in order to make money off of it. So woe to them for that which their hands have written, and they are cursed for that which they earn thereby. Now, so every lying imam, scholar that is corrupts the deen and changes the religions, and because of it, he makes money off of this. He makes money. He's changing the religion in order to make money.
Yeah, like,
It's cursed.
that's like that goes like
What the preachers do. What the preachers do. Now, you have all of these fake scholars. What are they doing? They say, oh, riba is permissible. This is permissible. They're making everything halal now. Everything halal. Why? Because the people accept you more when you don't tell them no. You don't tell them no, you get a bigger following. Especially all of these feminist imams. You got a lot of feminist imams now. All they want to do is make the ladies happy. Oh, no, sisters, brothers, be kind. Brothers, be gentle. No, don't fuss at your wife. Oh, brothers, they also don't, they want your children to be renegades. They tell you not to discipline your kids. What's going on with the deen? What's happening? Don't discipline your kids. Don't check your wife. Everything happy-go-lucky. What are we doing? What are we doing? The Prophet ﷺ said, "Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi." All of you are shepherd, all of you are responsible for his flock. So now tell this, you wouldn't tell, look at this, we're talking about animals with no intellect. You wouldn't tell the sheep herder, now leave them. You wouldn't tell the sheep herder that. Oh no, they know they have instinct. He's going to lose money. So him losing money if those sheep eat something poisonous or fall off a cliff or is eaten by a wolf is more important than somebody losing their children. Somebody is more important than a man losing his life partner, his wife. And we see that, look at this, even with the diligence of a man, he can still lose his wife indeed. What happened to Nuh alayhi salam? What happened to Lut alayhi salam? They weren't neglecting their families, and their families still went astray in their prophets because they were behind their back. So now how can a man leave his wife and not know what information she's absorbing? His children don't know what information they're absorbing behind his back and not check their friends, their phones, all their gadgets, and make sure that they're upon istiqamah. That's your job. You're a shepherd. You're a shepherd. Just let them loose. And then as soon as you assert the qawwama that Allah ordered, the responsibility that Allah ordered to have, what happens? What happens? Oh, they make up all kind of words, Greek words. Narcissistic. That's Greek. That's not Arabic. And he's narcissistic. He's controlling. He's insecure. You don't have and when you want to have the proper jealousy that a man is supposed to have for his wife, and not fulan and a'lan. Assalamu sister, so my wife. What's going on? What's really going on? How the kids? You see it going on. You see this silly things going on. And then as soon as you assert the proper jealousy, and you're not being a dayyuth that the Prophet ﷺ said will not enter Jannah, the man that doesn't not have the obligatory jealousy for his women folk will not enter Jannah. They want you to be a dayyuth. They want you to be a absentee parent. This was for men and women that, okay, leave your children alone. Let them have fun. Let them live. No, this is the years that I have to build this individual. This individual is being built. If somebody was putting up a building, an inanimate object, you would not, when they begin to establish the foundation of that building, this is the most important part of the building. Now, when you get into decor, you can relax a little bit. But the foundation, they're telling you to take it easy on the foundation. Don't worry about the foundation. We're going to get serious when it's time to paint. But the foundation, leave it alone. So you have a big, beautiful building that's shaking every time a train or a car comes back, starts shaking. Why? Because they told you to, don't be so serious when it comes to the foundation. This is the foundation. You're gonna neglect the foundation. The foundation, and this is why these corrupt governments, what do? They, especially here in America, they obligate you to put your children under their care and their education in the most important years of their life. Then you can have them after you finish with them. And if you don't put them under our care, we'll lock you up. SubhanAllah. And they took it from their higher ups. Oh no, okay, you read that. So the ulama says, فَالْهَلَاكُ وَعَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ يَنْتَظِرُ هَؤُلَاءِ الَّذِينَ يَكْتُبُونَ الْكِتَابَ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ ثُمَّ يَقُولُونَ كَذِبًا هَذَا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. So a destruction and a severe punishment waits for those who write the book with their hands and then say it's from Allah. It doesn't matter if the Torah or the Injil or the Quran. And they say this is from Allah. Now, ليستبدلوا بالحق واتباع الهدى ثمنا. In order for them to exchange the truth and following guidance for a price. زهيدا في الدنيا مثل المال والرئاسة. Right? I don't think that's right. Zahidan for dunya. That's the opposite. Anyway, in order to get money or leadership. فهلاك وعذاب شديد لهم على ما كتبت أيديهم ومما يكذبون به على الله. So they're destroyed, and a severe punishment is upon them for what their hands have written and for them lying upon Allah Ta'ala with it. وهلاك وعذاب شديد لهم على ما يكسبون من وراء ذلك من مال ورياسة. And destruction and a severe punishment is upon them for what they have earned behind that from money and leadership. So when imams sell out the deen in order, if I don't say this, if I don't say this, I'm going to lose my job as imam. So I have to say this, I have to say that, and being bullied into watering down Islam. The watered down Islam. He is behaving like a Jew. The imams that do this are behaving like the Jews. You have to tell the truth. The Prophet ﷺ said, Hadith Abi Darda, قُلِ الْحَقِّ وَلَوْ مُرْ وَلَوْ عَلَى نَفْسِكَ. He said, say the truth, even if it's bitter, and even if it's concerning your own self. We'll stop here. If there's any statements or questions concerning what we've taken so far, we'll take them now. If not, we'll stop. No. Okay. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وأستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.